Hello friends, this is Prasad Patki from SIMMI Foundation. In today's session, I am going to provide you the introduction of the ancient Indian education system. After completion of this session, the learners will be able to understand the ancient Indian Vedic education, post-Vedic education, Dharma Shastra education, as well as education during Buddhist period and Islamic period. The beginning of education in ancient India can be traced to the education through the Vedas, Upanishads and Dharma Shastras. The most important contribution of the ancient Indian system of education is the concept of gurukuls. Aspirants from all over the world came to join ancient Indian universities such as Takshashila and Nalanda, which were world famous for the standard of scholarship. The Vedic education was based on four Vedas named as Rigved, the book of mantra, Samved, the book of chant, Yajurved, the book of ritual, and Atharvaved, the book of spell, with the Rigveda serving as the principal text. The four Vedas are collectively known as Chaturveda. Education in the ancient Indian Vedic times focused on the following features. 1. Knowledge and experience. 2. Sublimation of instinct. 3. Spirituality. 4. Growth of character and personality. 5. Fulfillment of duty. 6. Protection of culture. Let us look into them in detail. Knowledge and experience. The Gurukulas laid emphasis upon knowledge and obtaining of experience. Students exhibited the knowledge obtained through discourses and discussions conducted in the concourse of scholars. The objective of education was not merely reading, but the subjective assimilation of knowledge and experience. Sublimation of instincts. The objective of education was to sublimate the instinctive tendencies, to turn the mind away from material knowledge and center it upon the spiritual world, thus establishing control over materialistic and base tendencies. Spirituality. In the Vedic period, nature was regarded as divine and worshipped. During this period, many hypotheses concerning spirituality took birth. Knowledge came to be seen as the instrument of salvation. Fire sacrifices, fasting, and taking of vows became a part of life. Education was given the objective of inculcating control over these aspects and learning right conduct based on them. Growth of character and personality. This was achieved through an appropriate environment, lessons on right conduct, and teachings based on the life character and ideas of great persons. Education aimed at developing the virtue of self-control, self-respect, love, cooperation, sympathy, etc. in the students. Fulfillment of duty. Great importance was attached to developing such qualities as discipline, obedience, performance of hospitality, rendering help to others, fulfillment of social responsibilities, etc. Through such education, social skills were developed in the students. In addition, education was also provided for earning a livelihood, and for this, one or more skills were taught. This education was not exclusively theoretical or literary. It was related to one or other manual skills. Protection of culture. During the Vedic period, considerable attention was given to the protection and propagation of national culture. Knowledge and skills were transmitted to the succeeding generations through the medium of schools known as gurukuls. Knowledge leads to man's physical as well as spiritual development. It is knowledge that leads man to his salvation. This truth lies concealed in the aphorism. Accepting this as the foundation, primacy was given to fire sacrifices, rituals, prayers, and religious festivals. Education in the post-Vedic times had the following features. Realization of true knowledge. According to this idea, education enables the realization of true knowledge and achievement of the absolute. Real knowledge is the realization of the ultimate relation of soul with the absolute. This is not possible by sensuous knowledge of worldly matters which pollutes the soul and makes it forget its real power. Realization of the Absolute. The post-Vedic education was not meant only for the sake of education. It was for the sake of life. It has been rightly said in Mundakopanishad, after achievement of real knowledge, all the doubts get destroyed and thus it enables the realization of Absolute, and therefore it makes it possible to fulfill the ultimate end of human life. Self-study was emphasized in the post-Vedic period. Upanishads are known as Paravidya. They are considered to be above all kind of material knowledge. This knowledge enables the unity of soul and the Absolute. The kind of knowledge which does not bring about the union of soul with the Absolute has no value. It does not deserve to be called knowledge. As the subject of study increased, the student was expected to read all the texts of one subject and allied literature. The student who studied three Vedas was called Shrotriya. It was said that real knowledge could be gained only through the study of three Vedas. The study of Veda has been divided into various branches and the branches into various sections. In the post-Vedic period, the trend of specialized study was rather common and emphasized. Education in the Dharma Sutras focused on the following. The pivot of the whole educational system of ancient India was a teacher, variously called Acharya, Guru and Upadhyay. In Manu and other Smritis, there is some divergence about the greatness of the Acharya. According to Manusmriti, the father or Janak and the teacher are called father, that is Pita, but the father who imparts the sacred Veda is superior to the father that gives birth. But in another place Manu says that one Acharya is 10 times superior to Upadhyay. The father is superior to the 100 Acharyas, while the mother is 1,000-fold superior to the father. According to Gautam, the Acharya is the highest among all gurus, while according to some, the mother is higher than Acharya. Buddhist education had many noble features, the most significant of which were the following. Abilities of the student. In the Buddhist period, every class in society had the right to receive education. It was denied only to the ill, the handicapped, the dishonored, and those punished for crimes. Education began at the age of 8. Till the age of 12, the student remained in the state of the Shramana. After attaining the age of 20, he was qualified to become a monk. Education was imparted through the medium of Pali language. Pababha ritual. Before a student could enter a monastery for receiving education, he had to perform the Pababha ritual, in which, according to the Vinaya Pitaka, the student had his head shaved of all the hair, dressed himself in yellow clothes, placed his forehead at the feet of the monk living in the monastery, and then sat cross-legged on the floor to repeat the following words thrice. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. He was then ordered to obey 10 rules, which included abstaining from theft, killing of any living being, impure conduct, partaking of food at prohibited times, use of intoxicating things, use of cosmetics, taking things without being offered, accepting objects of gold and silver in alms, watching dance or listening to music, etc. After performing of this ritual, the student was called a Shramana or Samnar. Upasampada ritual. After attaining the age of 20 years, the student had to adopt Upasampada. On this occasion, the presence of 10 monks was essential. After this ritual, the male monks were called bhikshu and the female monks bhikshuni. Even at this stage, monks were required to observe such rules as living under a tree, eating food obtained in their begging bowls, wearing clothes begged from others, and drinking the urine of cow as a medicine, etc. Duration of education. The total period of education was 22 years, composed of 12 years as Pababa and 10 years as Upasampada. Student-teacher relationship. Students were required to serve their teachers, beg for alms, eat food thrice a day, wear 3 items of clothing, bathe themselves in pure water and live a life of discipline. As a teacher's relations with his new students was akin to the father-son or paternal relationship. They were linked to each other in mutual respect, faith, and love. During this period, equality was the foundation of this relationship in which both students and teachers fulfilled their respective obligations and duties. Education for women. In the Buddhist period, women occupied a position inferior to men. Initially, they were prohibited from joining the Sangha or congregation. Later on, they were granted admission to such congregations, and it was then that education of women progressed. The permission for women to enter congregations gave great encouragement to women's education, particularly to the education of women belonging to the noble and trading classes. There is considerable evidence to prove that women's education prevailed during this period. Separate monasteries were established for women. Among the women who attained the fame were Shilabhattarika, Vijayanka, Prabhudevi, etc. A lady named Sanghamitra went to Ceylon to propagate the Buddhist faith. Vocational education. The syllabus of education during this period was comprehensive. It included education in writing, agriculture, commerce, cottage industries, animal husbandry, elephant lore, archery, magic, knowledge of reviving the dead, knowledge of animal cries and sounds, prophecy, control over sensuous activity, the bodily gestures, medicine, etc. The demand for knowledge of Sippa or professional and scientific education was no less than the demand for general education or for religious studies. Education during Muslim period. According to Hazrat Muhammad, of all the gifts that parents can give to their children, the best is the gift of a liberal education. Hazrat Muhammad collected his messages in the Holy Quran, and this text came to be an instrument of social direction for the Muslim kings. During this period, these kings made arrangements for education in order to serve their own interests. In the same manner, Firoz Shah Tughlaq of the Tughlaq dynasty made efforts for the propagation of education. The Muslim rulers themselves felt the need for Hindu workers in the administrative sphere, and hence they made arrangements for the study of Indian languages. As a result of the contact between Hindus and Muslims, Urdu, which was the spoken form of Persian mixed with Hindi, was evolved. The Mughal rulers who followed the earlier Muslim rulers had relatively greater interests in education, and hence it was in this later period that education developed more adequately. That's all from this session. We'll meet you again in next section soon. Thank you.